Alright, let's tune up your sled. This is the nifty old flexible flyer I've had since 1963 and it still works. To see evidence of that, just check out my other video. It says flexible flyer 46 miles per hour. In this case I'm going to show you how I got that speed. The first thing you do, if you have a rather new sled or one that just hasn't been used very much, take off the paint. Now you only have to take off the paint on the running surface. Anything beyond that doesn't really matter because it's not contacting the snow. Now the way that I did it, and it just depends on your preferences, the way I did it was with sandpaper. In this case it was 60 grit. And make sure it's aluminum oxide. You don't want silicon carbide, you don't want garnet. This is the stuff that's tough enough to do the job, and you're going to go through a lot of sandpaper. The other way to handle it is to, of course, with a wire brush. That works to a point, but eventually you're going to get down to sandpaper anyway. But when you do that, there's one thing to make sure of. All the motions you do when you tune a sled are always from front to back. The reason for that is so you don't put little, literally, bumps in the road heading the wrong direction that are going to slow you down. Yeah, that's what this is all about, right? Speed. So you're just going to be going like this to take it off. To take off the paint, and you're going to be doing something more with that later. Alright. The next step, obviously, you're going to need to flatten the runner somewhat. And I say somewhat because you don't want them absolutely flat. You'll notice there's a groove down the middle. And there isn't a whole lot of steel here, so you don't want to get too carried away with removing too much steel. So, what you really need to do is get something like a, well, in this case it's a double cut file. It's my preference because it cuts faster. But you can also use a mill bastard file. Just remember that you're going to have something to clear the clogs you inevitably will get on the surface down here. If you don't, you're going to wind up with gouges, and you don't want that. So, once again, it's front to back. Just going to like so. Just peek at it and make sure that you're secured to the table quite well, or you're going to be chasing it all over the place. Lean it against the wall, whatever you have to do. But after you've accomplished that, what you need to do then is go to the sides. And this is freehand too. There are little devices that you can use for, if you're a skier, you may be familiar with little things like this. It's an edge sharpener. See how it holds a 90-degree edge? It's handy to do something like that. It makes it easy to hold at 90 degree because all you have to do is press down here and move right along. That works really well. Alright, so if you've accomplished making it flat across here so you have a nice square corner, that's what we're after, a nice square corner right here along the running edge on both sides. Once you've accomplished that by a flat surface here, each side of the groove, and then a 90-degree edge right here. Check for burrs. There's going to be a little metal extension. I can feel it right here. They're difficult to see without magnification, but you can definitely feel there's a little lip right there. Just a light touch with the file with the direction of travel once again. And across there. And you'll feel that it's gone. You want to get rid of that because it's just going to create a steering problem and a drag problem. Alright, after that, what you have to do, well, you don't have to, but if you really want to be sophisticated about this, you treat now like as if it's a cross-country ski. And all you cross-country skiers are familiar with rilling. Really all this is creating little tiny grooves running in the direction of travel. And that allows moisture to have a channel to escape. What you'll do is, once again using aluminum oxide, you're going to go as rough or coarse as 40 grit sandpaper and as fine as 100 grit. I've seen some that say, they claim 200 grit, but I don't know about that. You don't want to polish on here, because if you polish this, it'll literally suck. You'll create a vacuum that'll slow you right down. You'll feel it go as you're sliding. So what you want to do is determine what the snow of the day is, and generally the kind of snow that you're going to have throughout the season, because you don't want to keep sanding all the time. So around here I find that 100 grit works really good. So you want to work your way down, 60, 80, 100, and to the grit of the day, let's say. And once again, you just want to put in a couple of grooves. You just want to put in a couple. You just want to put in grooves running parallel to the edges. All right. And once you check the edges to see if you dulled them or not. If you did it right, you will not have considerably dulled them. All right. After you're done with that, this is the part that really is like cross-country skiing. You have to think of the temperature of the snow. And I mean of the snow, not necessarily air temperature, the temperature of the snow. So today, for instance, it's pretty cold. So these are the waxes. What these are an alpine wax. They're also called a glide wax for cross-country skis. I use a lot, so I have these big tubs of them. But Swix is a brand I like because it's readily available. I know what it does really well. It doesn't matter what brand you choose. Just pick one and learn to use it and have a good time. So really, all you have to do, very, very, very simple, is just hold it against, make sure your iron, if you're using just a plain old iron, make sure your iron doesn't have any holes in it. The holes won't do you any good. For obvious reasons, I don't think I have to explain any more than that. Alright, there are also cross-country ski irons especially made for this sort of thing. They're more expensive than you really need for this. Just make sure that the iron is warm enough to melt the wax of the day, but not hot enough to make it smoke a lot. That's close enough for what you need to do. So, you just hold it against the iron and just start dropping it along the groove. Now, for the sake of illustration, I'll just shortcut this a bit. Alright, let's say we just did the whole thing. Now, the next part is, if you notice, look at this. Can you see these move? So that's not going to do you any good. What you need to do then is warm the runner enough to melt these and make a bond with the steel. You can see it's actually adhering. Alright. Now, you let that cool. It's pretty warm right now. One little item worthy of note. You want to do this where it doesn't matter if you make a mess, because you are going to make a mess. Now, for somebody in the house that really cares about that other than you, I mean, think about doing this in a place where it's okay to make a tremendous mess, because cleaning up wax is not a fun time. Alright, now, down in here, I can see these little curls coming off right there. Now, this may seem like you're wasting the wax, and in a sense you are, but this is just all part of the procedure. There's a little tool like this. Whoa, that's warm. A little tool like this. All you have to do is scrape this off once it gets cool enough. You don't want to do it too soon, because if it's still really hot, all you'll do is strip the wax off. You want a bond to develop there. There's a fine line there. You don't have to wait till it's absolutely cold. And the colder the wax, the less time you have to wait. So, what you can do then is you take one of these little ears. This is a cross-country tool right here, cross-country ski wax tool. You can use anything else that fits, but plastic is good for this. So all you have to do is remove the excess. Alright? Super simple. Nothing high-tech about it. You do it for the whole thing, of course. And once again, you notice my motions are front to back. There you go. Take your time. You know, it's not a hurry, not a big hurry. All right, you think we're done now? No, you're not. You take it further now. Remember that rill structure that we put into the steel? Right now, it's clogged with the wax. You don't want that. I mean, why put the rills in there if you're just going to fill it, right? Okay, so what we need to do next is take that out with a final brushing. Now, the cheapest way to do it is one of these little fiberglass brushes, like so. I don't know whether the fiberglass, not whatever that is, probably nylon. Yeah, it's a nylon brush. Once again, it's a Swix product, but Toco, any one of the other ones, whatever works. Now, this is the inexpensive way to do it on a small item like this. It works really well, and this is all you have to do. And if you pay attention close enough to it, you'll notice that it actually develops a polish of sorts. There we go. You can feel it, man. It feels like a fly would land on there and break away. It's quite slick. There. That's all there is to it. If you really want to go big time, this is probably more appropriate for snowboards, but I like it in particular. It's a bronze brush with nylon on the ends. And when you're doing a big project or you have a lot to do, this guy really takes it off and takes it off quickly. But to keep it simple, this little guy or one similar works just fine. I suppose you could probably do it with a really hard toothbrush, but this is a whole lot easier, and these are not very expensive. Alright. Well, all you have to do is check now on the sides to see if you left any little bit. There's some right there. See if you left any little bits of dripping on the edges. You don't want that. Alright. Let go. Do that for both runners, and you are ready to have fun with this. And by all means, enjoy the ride.